Have you ever felt that sensation that the more you seek answers outside, the less you find the peace you so need? Carl Jung, one of the greatest psychologists in history, discovered something that can completely change your life today. He realized that there exists a silent ritual, an almost secret practice, that has the power to strengthen anyone, even in the most difficult moments. Whoever looks outside dreams. Whoever looks inside awakens, Jung said. And it's exactly about this inner awakening that we're going to talk about today, a method that great leaders, thinkers, and extraordinary people have used throughout history to find strength where no one else could give it to them. Just imagine, while the entire world screams for your attention, there's a silent power within you waiting to be activated. A power that doesn't depend on external approval, on social media likes, or on other people's opinions. A power that, once awakened, no one will ever be able to take away from you. It's about this power that Carl Jung dedicated decades of study, and today, in the next few minutes, I will reveal how you can access it through a profound psychological ritual. You are living in one of the noisiest moments in human history. Constant notifications, opinions from strangers on social media, alarming, news, demands at work, family responsibilities. Your brain rarely has a moment of true silence. And that's exactly why many people feel so empty inside, even when their lives seem full on the outside. Have you noticed how difficult it is to hear your own inner voice amid all this chaos? The truth is that we live in a society that has trained us to constantly seek external validation. From an early age, we learn that our value lies in what others think of us, in the grades we get in school, in the likes we receive, in the salary we earn, or in how much we are desired. And so, without realizing it, we move further and further away from ourselves. We lose that deep connection with our essence, that inner certainty that needs no proof or witnesses to exist. Do you feel this too? That sensation that you're always running, always chasing something that seems to be just around the corner. But when you get there, you already need to run to the next goal. That feeling of tiredness that doesn't go away with sleep, of an emptiness that doesn't fill with achievements, of a thirst that doesn't quench with one more scroll through the timeline. Carl Jung called this the disease of modernity, this profound disconnection from ourselves. He observed how his patients, many of them externally successful people, suffered from an indefinable malaise, a feeling that something important was missing in their lives. And the most impressive thing, he discovered that the cure wasn't in more external knowledge, more therapy, or more medication. The cure was in silence, in the reunion with parts of yourself that had been abandoned along the way. Nowadays, this problem is even more serious. Recent studies show that we spend an average of 11 hours a day consuming some type of media. 11 hours. This means that most of your waking time is spent absorbing voices, ideas, and images from other people. When was the last time you spent a whole hour in complete silence, just listening to yourself? This chronic lack of silence has serious consequences: anxiety, depression, insomnia, lack of creativity, difficulty concentrating, constant feelings of inadequacy. All these are symptoms of the same disease, disconnection from oneself. And that's why so many people desperately search for answers in self-help books, motivational videos, new relationships, or even substances that promise temporary relief. But Jung knew, and the ancient spiritual masters also knew, true strength doesn't come from outside. It's already inside you. It just needs to be awakened. Have you noticed how some people seem to have an unshakable inner strength? How they manage to stay calm and clear even in crisis situations? How they make difficult decisions without being dragged down by others' opinions? How they convey a sense of solidity, of presence, that naturally attracts others? These people weren't born this way. They discovered in one way or another the power of inner silence. They practice, consciously or unconsciously, the ritual I'm going to share with you today. What many people don't know is that Carl Jung, besides being a brilliant psychologist and theorist, was a dedicated practitioner of introspection techniques. For years he withdrew daily for sessions of deep silence, where he confronted his own inner demons, dialogued with the darkest parts of his psyche, and cultivated an intimate relationship with his unconscious. It was through this personal practice that he developed many of his revolutionary theories about the human mind. The ritual I'm going to share with you is based on Jung's own practices, adapted for the modern world and for the specific needs that all of us face today. It's a method that has already helped thousands of people recover their inner strength, their mental clarity, and their ability to stay centered even amid chaos. A method that doesn't require special equipment, years of study, or perfect conditions. Just you, your mind, and the willingness to dive into silence in a structured and conscious way. Before beginning this ritual, I need you to understand something fundamental. The strength we seek is not something new to be acquired, but something ancestral to be rediscovered within you. Jung compared this process to an archaeological excavation. We're not building something from scratch, but removing layers of dust and debris that hide a treasure that has always been there. During his years of clinical practice, he observed how his patients transformed profoundly when they finally stopped fighting against themselves and began to listen to that inner voice that had always known the way. Jungian psychology is based on the concept of individuation, the process by which we become who we truly are, integrating all the fragmented parts of our psyche into a coherent and powerful whole. And the first step in this process is always the same: creating enough silence so that we can hear what our unconscious is trying to tell us. As Jung wrote in his personal diary, your vision will become clear only when you can look into your heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens. Think about the great moments of transformation in human history. Almost all began in silence. Buddha found enlightenment sitting in silence under the Bodhi tree. Jesus withdrew to the desert for 40 days before beginning his ministry. Gandhi practiced regular days of silence, which he considered essential for his inner strength. And Jung himself went through a period of deep introspection after his break with Freud, diving into what he called a confrontation with the unconscious, an inner journey that he documented in his Red Book and that completely transformed his understanding of the human psyche. Now let's begin to design this ritual step by step. The first essential element is the creation of what Jung called temenos, a sacred, protected space where inner work can happen without interference. In the ancient world, the temenos was the sacred precinct of a temple. For us, it will be the physical and mental space that we dedicate exclusively to our ritual of silence. Start by choosing a location in your home where you can be completely alone and without interruptions for at least 30 minutes. It doesn't need to be an entire room. It can be a corner of the bedroom, a specific chair, even a mat that you lay on the floor. The important thing is that this space is dedicated exclusively to this purpose during the ritual. Remove or turn off any source of distraction, especially your cell phone, computer, or television. Jung believed that external symbols can help activate internal energies, so you can add elements that have personal meaning for you. A candle, an inspiring image, a crystal, a plant. But remember, minimalism is preferable to excess. The fewer external distractions, the better. Now, before really diving into silence, we need to prepare the body and mind for this experience. Jung knew that breathing is the most direct bridge between the conscious and the unconscious, between mind and body. So, we'll start with a breathing technique specifically designed to initiate the interiorization process. Sit in a comfortable position, with your spine erect but not rigid. Close your eyes and begin to observe your natural breathing, without trying to change it. Just notice how air enters and exits your body. After a few moments, begin to deepen your breathing, inhaling slowly through your nose while counting to 4, holding the air for 2 counts, and then exhaling slowly through your mouth while counting to 6. Jung believed that this specific proportion, 4-count inhalation, 2-count pause, 6-count exhalation, had a balancing effect on the nervous system, calming the fight-or-flight state that many of us live in chronically. Continue this rhythmic breathing for at least 3 minutes. As you breathe, imagine that each exhalation is carrying away not just used air, but also the worries, obsessive thoughts, and mental noise that we accumulate during the day. Feel your body relaxing, becoming heavier and more stable. Feel your mind beginning to slow down, like an agitated lake that gradually calms until it becomes perfectly clear and mirror-like. This is the preparation for the true work that lies ahead. Jung called this phase emptying, the process of creating enough space in consciousness for the unconscious to emerge. As he once wrote, "It is not possible to look directly at the sun. Likewise, we cannot look directly at the unconscious without first preparing a space of receptivity in our consciousness." Now that your body is relaxed and your mind has begun to slow down, let's move to the next step of the ritual, confronting the shadow. This is perhaps the most crucial and also the most challenging element of Jungian work. The shadow, in Jung's understanding, represents all those parts of ourselves that we repress, deny, or hide, not only from others, but mainly from ourselves. These are our fears, shame, unacceptable desires, repressed anger, undeveloped potentials, and uncomfortable truths. Most people spend their entire lives running from their own shadow. We create elaborate personas, social masks, to hide not only from others but mainly from ourselves, these parts that we consider unacceptable. The problem is that the more energy we spend on this escape, the more fragile we become. The shadow doesn't disappear when we deny it. On the contrary, it gains strength behind the scenes of our psyche and begins to sabotage our life in subtle and not-so-subtle ways. The Jungian ritual of silence completely reverses this dynamic. Instead of fleeing from the shadow, we deliberately invite it for a conscious encounter, and it's in silence that this encounter can happen with more depth and authenticity. Now, still with your eyes closed and breathing deeply, ask yourself the following question. What am I avoiding looking at in myself right now? What truth am I refusing to acknowledge? Allow the answers to come naturally, without forcing or over-analyzing. Simply observe the thoughts, feelings, or images that arise. Resistance may emerge at this moment. Your conscious mind may try to distract you, lead you to think about pending tasks, or create judgments about the process itself. This is completely normal. The psyche has powerful defense mechanisms specifically designed to avoid this encounter with the shadow. Jung observed this phenomenon in hundreds of patients and called it psychic resistance, a force that automatically opposes the work of integration. When you feel this resistance, simply acknowledge it without judgment and gently bring your attention back to the silence and to your original question. As difficult thoughts and feelings begin to emerge, you may feel discomfort, shame, or even fear. Perhaps memories will surface of moments when you acted in ways that contradict your idealized self-image. Perhaps you'll recognize desires or tendencies that you normally try to ignore. Perhaps you'll realize how you've sabotaged your own success or happiness in subtle ways. This is exactly the material we need to work with. The Jungian approach is not to judge or repress this material, but to welcome it with curiosity and compassion. Each aspect of your shadow contains vital energy and creative potential that can be redirected and integrated. As Jung wrote, "It is not by becoming better, but by drawing out the best of what we are, that we become greater." This is the transformative paradox of working with the shadow. It is precisely in what we most fear and reject in ourselves that we find our greatest resources of strength and authenticity. After a few minutes of allowing these shadow contents to emerge in silence, let's move to the active phase of this work. Take a notebook and pen that you've reserved specifically for this ritual. Now, without thinking too much, without editing or censoring, begin to write anything that comes to mind. This is what Jung called automatic writing, a technique to directly access the unconscious, bypassing the defenses of the rational mind. Write continuously for at least 5 minutes. Don't worry about grammar, coherence, or whether what you're writing makes sense. Don't worry if it seems silly, disturbing, or strange. Simply let your hand move across the paper, channeling whatever is emerging from the silence. You might be surprised by what appears: unexpected insights, forgotten memories, unrecognized desires, deep fears, or even surprising wisdom that you didn't know you possessed. This technique was fundamental in Jung's own journey to self-knowledge. During his period of confrontation with the unconscious, he filled entire volumes with material that emerged from these automatic writing sessions, material that would later form the basis of many of his most important psychological theories. As he explained, the hand knows things that the conscious mind is not yet ready to recognize. After completing your writing, reread what you wrote not with the critical eye of an editor, but with the compassionate curiosity of an explorer. What are these fragments of your unconscious trying to tell you? What patterns can you perceive? What parts of yourself are asking to be seen, heard, and integrated? Now we come to a crucial point in the ritual, the dialogue with the shadow. Jung developed a technique called active imagination, which allows direct dialogue with aspects of the unconscious. Close your eyes again and visualize some aspect of your shadow that emerged during the writing as a distinct figure or character. It could be a younger version of yourself, an animal, a mythological figure, or simply an abstract form or sensation. The important thing is that you give some kind of form to this energy. Now mentally, initiate a dialogue with this figure. Ask it, who are you? What do you need? What are you trying to tell me? And then allow it to answer. You may be surprised by how much this part of you has to say when it finally receives permission to speak. Often, the shadow aspects we most fear are simply wounded parts of ourselves that need recognition, understanding, and integration. Continue this dialogue for a few minutes, asking and allowing responses. Remember that you're not inventing the answers. You're allowing a deeper part of your psyche to communicate with you. As Jung observed, until we make the unconscious conscious, it will direct our life and we will call it fate. As this dialogue progresses, you may begin to feel a subtle shift. What initially seemed frightening or repulsive may reveal itself as a potential source of strength, creativity, or wisdom. What seemed to be your inner enemy may reveal itself as a powerful ally, once it is properly recognized and integrated. This is the alchemical transformation that is at the heart of Jungian work, the conversion of psychic lead into gold. After this dialogue with the shadow, we're ready to advance to the next phase of the ritual, the invocation of the archetypes of power. Archetypes in Jungian psychology are universal patterns or primordial models that reside in the collective unconscious of humanity. They are like primordial psychic forces that shape our perceptions, behaviors, and experiences at a deep level. Jung identified several fundamental archetypes, but for our strengthening ritual, we'll focus on 4 particularly powerful ones: the warrior, the sage, the magician, and the sovereign. Each of these archetypes represents a different aspect of personal power, and all of us have access to these archetypal energies within our own psyche. Consciously activating them is like turning on light switches in rooms that were dark inside us. Begin by visualizing yourself standing in a sacred circle. Before you, see 4 thrones or altars, each representing one of the archetypes. Breathe deeply and direct your attention to the first throne, that of the warrior. The warrior represents strength, courage, determination, and the ability to establish and defend healthy boundaries. It's the part of you that knows when to fight for what is right and when to protect what is valuable. Visualize the warrior in a form that resonates with you. It could be a historical warrior, a mythological figure, or simply a strong and protective presence. Feel the qualities of this archetype: the upright posture, the direct gaze, the readiness to act when necessary. Ask yourself, where in my life do I need more warrior energy right now? Where do I need to be braver, more determined, more proactive in defending my boundaries? Allow images, feelings, or insights to arise naturally in response to these questions. Now, make a symbolic gesture to receive the energy of this archetype. It could be placing your hand over your heart, making a movement of raising an imaginary sword, or simply bowing your head in acknowledgement. Feel this warrior energy flowing into you, strengthening your spine, energizing your muscles, bringing clarity to your vision. When you face difficult situations in the coming days, you'll be able to invoke this energy again, remembering this connection you've established now. Next, turn your attention to the second throne, that of the sage. This archetype represents wisdom, discernment, long-term vision, and the ability to see beyond appearances. It's the part of you that knows when to step back from immediate drama to gain perspective, that can separate facts from opinions, and that values truth above comfort. Visualize the sage in a form that resonates with you. It could be a mentor you admire, an ancestral figure, or simply a serene and contemplative presence. Feel the qualities of this archetype: the inner calm, the penetrating gaze that sees the essence of things, the patience that allows truth to reveal itself in its own time. Ask yourself, where in my life do I need more sage energy right now? Where do I need more clarity, more discernment, more ability to see beyond the immediate? Again, allow responses to arise naturally from the silence. Make a gesture to receive the energy of this archetype, perhaps touching your forehead, simulating the opening of an ancient book, or simply inhaling deeply as if absorbing this wisdom through the air. Feel the sage's energy flowing into you, bringing clarity to your mind, expansion to your perspective, depth to your understanding. Now, direct your attention to the third throne, that of the magician. This archetype represents transformation, personal power, manifestation capacity, and the ability to connect different realms of experience. It's the part of you that knows how to transform vision into reality, how to channel energy to create change, how to find creative solutions to seemingly unsolvable problems. Visualize the magician in a form meaningful to you. It could be an alchemist, a shaman, a visionary artist, or simply a transformative and catalytic presence. Feel the qualities of this archetype: the limitless creativity, the power to transform one thing into another, the ability to see invisible connections between different aspects of reality. Ask yourself, where in my life do I need more magician energy right now? Where do I need more creativity, more transformation capacity, more manifestation power? Let images, sensations, or insights arise in response. Make a gesture to receive the energy of this archetype, perhaps extending your hands as if molding invisible energy, tracing a symbol in the air, or simply feeling a current of creative energy rising up your spine. Feel the magician's energy flowing into you, activating your imagination, awakening your creativity, expanding your ability to create real change in your life. Finally, turn your attention to the fourth throne, that of the sovereign. This archetype represents leadership, internal authority, responsibility, and the ability to create order from chaos. It's the part of you that knows how to take command of your own life, how to establish clear priorities, how to make decisions that serve the greater good. Visualize the sovereign in a form that speaks to your psyche. It could be a wise leader, a benevolent regent, or simply a majestic and dignified presence. Feel the qualities of this archetype: the natural authority posture that doesn't need to be imposed, the ability to see the complete picture, the commitment to the well-being of the entire realm, which, in this case, is the totality of your life. Ask yourself, where in my life do I need more sovereign energy right now? Where do I need to more fully assume my authority, establish better order, or make decisions more aligned with my true essence? Allow responses to arise from the silence. Make a gesture to receive the energy of this archetype, perhaps symbolically, placing a crown on your head, sitting more upright as if on a throne, or simply making an opening movement with your arms as one who embraces responsibility. Feel the sovereign's energy flowing into you, bringing dignity to your posture, clarity to your decisions, purpose to your actions. Now that we've activated these four archetypes of power, we come to the final and perhaps most important phase of the Jungian ritual, the integration and strengthening of the self. In Jungian psychology, the self, with a capital S, is not the same as the ego or everyday personality. The self is the organizing center of the entire psyche, the point of balance between conscious and unconscious, the totality that encompasses all aspects of who you are, including those we've just worked with, the shadow and the archetypes. Jung compared the self to an inner sun, the source of psychic energy that illuminates and animates the entire system. When this inner sun is strong and its light can flow freely, we experience a profound sense of purpose, meaning, and personal power. When it's blocked or obscured, we feel fragmented, confused, and powerless in the face of life's challenges. The EEG work we've done so far, confronting the shadow and activating the archetypes, were essential preparations for this culminating moment, the conscious strengthening of the self. Jung discovered that, paradoxically, the more we're able to integrate seemingly contradictory aspects of our psyche, the stronger and more cohesive the self becomes. Integration, not perfection, is the path to true inner strength. Still in your space of silence, now visualize a golden circle in the center of your chest. This circle represents yourself, the center of your psychic totality. See it pulsing gently, with golden light. Now imagine that the energies we've worked with, the shadow we confronted and the archetypes we activated, begin to flow into this circle, like tributaries returning to the ocean. The shadow part we recognize now flows like a dark but valuable river into the golden circle, bringing with it depth, authenticity, and recovered vital energy. The archetypal energies, warrior, sage, magician, and sovereign, flow like rivers of different colors into the same circle, each bringing its unique qualities to enrich and strengthen the self. As these energies merge in the golden circle, it begins to pulse more intensely, gradually expanding to encompass your entire body. Feel this golden light of the strengthened self moving into every cell of your being, illuminating areas of doubt with inner certainty, areas of weakness with renewed strength, areas of confusion with clarity of purpose. This is the state that Jung called individuation, the ongoing process of becoming more fully who you really are, integrating all aspects of your psyche into a cohesive and powerful whole. It's not a final destination, but a continuous journey of self-knowledge and integration. And each time you practice this ritual, you advance one step in this journey. Now, to complete the ritual and anchor this experience in your everyday life, let's perform a final exercise inspired by the mandala practice that Jung used both with his patients and in his own journey of self-knowledge. Jung discovered that the simple act of creating or contemplating a mandala, a symbolic circle with a clearly defined center, had a powerful organizing and integrating effect on the psyche. In your dedicated notebook, draw a large circle that takes up almost the entire page. In the center of this circle, draw a personal symbol that represents for you the strengthened self. It could be a sun, a star, a crystal, a flower, or any other symbol that resonates with you intuitively. Don't worry about artistic skills. What's important here is the intention and personal meaning, not aesthetic perfection. Now, around this central symbol, visually represent the energies we've worked with today. Perhaps a symbol for the recognized and integrated shadow, and symbols for each of the 4 archetypes. You can use words, images, colors, or any combination of these elements. Allow your intuition to guide this creative process. When you finish your personal mandala, take a few moments to contemplate it. This image now serves as a visual representation of your strengthened self, a map of your psychic totality that includes both light and shadow, both the conscious and the unconscious. It's a tangible reminder of the inner work you performed today, and an anchor point to continue this work in the days to come. As a final step of the ritual, make a conscious commitment to yourself. Aloud or in silence, depending on your comfort, declare your intention to continue honoring this inner work. You can use your own words or adapt something like, I commit to remembering and nurturing this inner strength that I awakened today. I commit to continuing this dialogue with all parts of myself. I commit to my own wholeness and authenticity. To finish the ritual, breathe deeply 3 times, feeling with each inhalation the renewed energy in your body, and with each exhalation, the release of any residual tension. As you open your eyes, take a moment to reorient yourself to your surroundings, knowing that you now carry this strengthened inner force into your everyday life. Jung repeatedly observed that it's not external circumstances, but our relationship with them that determines our psychological well-being. When we strengthen our connection with the inner self, we develop what he called true individuality, an inner solidity that allows us to respond to life situations with authenticity and resilience, rather than merely reacting automatically, based on conditioning and fears. This ritual we've just explored is not something you do once and you're done. It's a practice that ideally becomes a regular part of your life, a conscious return to the integrating silence that nourishes and strengthens your psychic center. Jung recommended to his patients that they set aside time regularly for this conversation with the soul, observing that those who did so consistently showed remarkable transformations over time. Many people notice significant changes after just a few days of consistent practice, a greater sense of inner calm even in challenging situations, decisions that come with more clarity and conviction. relationships that become more authentic and satisfying, a feeling of purpose and meaning that doesn't depend on external validation or approval. One of Jung's patients, a high-level executive who suffered from chronic anxiety and insomnia, reported that after 3 weeks of this type of practice, she not only slept better but also noticed a fundamental change in how she dealt with crises at work. It's as if now there's a space between what happens and how I respond. In that space, I find a strength I didn't know I had. Another patient, an artist who struggled with creative blocks and self-doubt, discovered that the daily ritual of silence opened gates of creativity that I thought were permanently closed. Ideas now flow from a deeper, more authentic place. And most surprisingly, I no longer care so much what critics think. Jung himself practiced forms of this ritual throughout his adult life, often reminding his students and patients, the most influential person in your life is the one who looks back at you from the mirror every morning. Through the ritual of silence, you begin to truly know and strengthen that person. It's important to remember that this work is not about achieving some idealized state of psychological perfection. Jung was particularly critical of the idea of perfection, seeing it as a dangerous fantasy that actually prevents true growth. As he wrote, "The goal of individuation is not perfection, but completeness. Self-acceptance, with all the problems and deficiencies, is the basic prerequisite for better change." The ritual I've shared with you today doesn't promise to transform you into some idealized and unrealistic version of yourself. Instead, it invites you to become more fully who you already are, with all your contradictions, complexities, and unique potentials. True inner strength doesn't come from eradicating your shadow or imperfect parts, but from recognizing them, integrating them, and paradoxically, transforming them into sources of wisdom and authentic power. I want to challenge you to commit to this practice for at least 21 consecutive days. Why 21 days? Research in neuroplasticity indicates that 3 weeks is approximately the time needed for new neurological patterns to begin establishing themselves more permanently in the brain. It's also a period long enough to experience tangible changes, but short enough to be a realistic commitment even for a busy life. It's not necessary to dedicate hours to this practice. Even 15 to 30 minutes daily, practiced consistently, can produce profound results. What matters is not so much the duration, but the quality of attention that you bring to this sacred time with yourself. And remember, there are no failures in this work. If on one day you feel particularly distracted, resistant, or disconnected during the practice, that too is valuable information about your psyche at that moment. Include that experience in your self-exploration rather than judging it as a failure. As Jung often reminded his patients, the path is not always a straight line. Often it's a spiral that revisits the same points at deeper levels of understanding. You'll notice that, over time, this ritual becomes not just a practice, but a way of being. The inner silence that you cultivate during the dedicated time begins to extend to other aspects of your life. You may find yourself naturally pausing before reacting to a challenging situation, accessing that inner strength you now know well. You may notice yourself making decisions from a place of inner clarity, rather than external pressure. You may discover an authenticity in your relationships that makes connections more meaningful and satisfying. This is precisely the kind of transformation that Jung observed in patients who seriously dedicated themselves to inner work. As he wrote, in a letter to a student, "The most significant change is rarely the most externally visible. It's the change in relationship with oneself that fundamentally alters how we experience and respond to everything else. Each day that you practice this ritual, you are literally reconfiguring the neurological circuits of your brain, strengthening the connections between different parts of your psyche, and creating a more solid foundation of inner strength. You are actively participating in the process that Jung called becoming who you already are, the lifelong journey to unveil and integrate all aspects of your true being." I leave you with one of Jung's most powerful reflections on the true meaning of inner strength. Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens. It is this awakening that I invite you to embark on today. An awakening to your own inner strength, to your innate wisdom, to your authentic power that has been there all along, just waiting for the moment of silence necessary to reveal itself. Begin today. Dedicate this time to yourself. Strengthen yourself in silence, and observe how, gradually but inevitably, your entire life begins to reflect this newly discovered strength. Now I want you to pause for a moment and reflect. What would be possible in your life if you really committed to this practice for 21 days? How would it be to face your current challenges from this place of renewed inner strength? What decisions would you make differently? What relationships would transform? What dreams would you dare to pursue? The invitation has been made. The choice, as always, is yours. But remember what Jung discovered through decades of work with thousands of people. Those who find the courage to dive into silence and honestly confront themselves are the ones who discover the true strength that transforms not just their own lives, but frequently positively impacts everyone around them. Strengthen yourself in silence. The world needs people who have awakened to their true essence.